Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Insurance with the Janet Smart Agency. I am your host today, Janet Smart, with Farmers Insurance. Today, we're going to discuss fire safety. As an insurance agent, I have had a number of my clients have claims with fires that, to the most part, are preventable. The National Fire Protection Agency has the 5 most common causes of fire. They actually include cooking, heating, electrical, smoking, and candles. So with the cooking portion of this, I do find that as people are busy, they do tend to multitask. And this is when the cooking becomes a danger. If you are pulled away from preparing and cooking on a hot stove or even an oven, that you get pulled away doing laundry, something else happens, something spills, you're cleaning up a spill, you're in the other part of the house, there can be a risk for a fire starting. So that is very important, and I think this is why smoke detectors are so important in all homes. But Thanksgiving, Christmas, the deep frying turkeys, people have heard about that. There's usually the open flame and grease involved. One thing that people don't realize that can cause a fire in the home is actually a toaster. What I have had and learned from someone else's experience was we've all had those toasters in our lives. And the older you are, the more you can appreciate this. But with a standard pop-up toaster where you put the slices of bread in, you put it down, and let's say it pops when it gets to desired doneness, sometimes the element or the little spring lever fails. And that's when you end up with burnt toast. But more importantly, that's also when you can end up with a burned home. I have had someone say before they thought their toaster popped, but it didn't release completely. So I don't ever leave my toaster plugged in nonstop, because this one person had shared with me that after they had their toast for the day, they didn't unplug their toaster. And later that day, their home had burned due to that toaster being plugged in and not all the way releasing from the spring lever switch. That is something very important. So they do ask that you unplug appliances that you're not using, such as that, maybe even a toaster oven. I haven't heard it with an air fryer yet, but definitely to remain in the kitchen while you cook. And honestly, this is one that I have to use on a regular basis because I do get distracted in the kitchen, but use a timer to remind you that things are cooking, because I have served more than well done chicken to my husband on a number of occasions because it's out on the grill and I let it go too long. Heating. So our second most common home fire, is heating. So the fire departments in 2014 to 2018 had responded to an average of 48,000 fires annually that involved heating equipment, which can be your little space heaters. Space heaters, I think, are the ones that we hear about most commonly. Sometimes gas is too expensive, so people use the electrical space heaters to be more cost efficient. But without looking at the space heater to see how many volts it uses, and then making sure that you plug it in directly to the wall is the number one key. If you cannot plug it in directly to a wall, the next step is to make sure that your extension cord is rated for at least that volt amount, 125, it seems like for most space heaters, or better. So there are a lot of space heaters out there that are 120 volts, some are higher. You definitely need to use a cord that's rated at a higher voltage rate. And what we find most of the time at stores now are 125 for this reason alone. But if you're thinking about grandmother, grandfather, and And just people that may have had items around for a long, long time, my brother included, I give him a hard time that he's going to burn down his home because he never throws anything out. But some of these extension cords are rated much less, and that's where the risk is for the fire. So very important to make sure that you understand that. Obviously, fireplaces, having them cleaned out if they're wood burning, and even if they're not wood burning, that you have an adequate cover in front of it for any of the popping of the wood where sparks can come out onto nearby items such as a throw rug or even a carpet, because they have been able to spark and go out pretty far around some of the fire gates and the systems that people have. Also, just things being left too close to other items can catch fire. And that one's pretty obvious. But keep a minimum of 3 feet from your heating equipment. And you should also have your heating equipment, such as chimneys, cleaned and inspected. Those flue fires can happen. And so it really is important if you might even have a bird's nest up there, something that might clog up the fireplace chimney, so to speak. So really having those cleaned are very important. Difficult times remind me to take stock of what's most important. That's why I'm here for you and your family to discuss your insurance options and help you select coverage. With over 14 years of experience as a farmer's agent, I take pride in being able to help you protect the things that matter most. Call me, Janet Smart, at 870-793-5757 to learn more.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
Next up tends to be the electrical. And electrical, sometimes you might plug something in and the breaker goes. So obviously you're pulling in more electricity than you're supposed to on that specific circuit. It may involve having an electrician come out and changing up your breaker box to make sure that you have enough amps set up for the item that you most commonly use. I do know when I would be in a camper, it seems like it never fails whenever I use a hairdryer. Something would kick off that breaker and turn it off. So whenever those items are happening, you have too much strain on the electrical system. Next up are the, obviously smoking. Smoking not only with traditional cigarettes, pipes, cigars. Obviously there's a flame involved in that and a heating element from the end of the cigarette that can cause, the ashes and then the burning part of the cigarette can catch things on fire. But even the different vape devices, they tend to have an electrical charge. And even like cell phones, you have to be careful for leaving those on fabric surfaces, because sometimes when charging even a cell phone, if you don't have the correct cords to charge these vape devices and or the cell phones, you can actually cause a fire. So it is really important to use the cords that are rated appropriately. Next up and last, candles. And you would think that candles are an obvious one, but people just forget about them. You light one, you walk out of a room, and something else could, paper, curtain, something could blow and be brushed by an animal to cause a fire. So definitely blow out those candles when you're done, or use the wonderful scented devices that burn wax with an electrical heat instead of an actual flame. And I'm going to throw in a plug for Scentsy, because they are wonderful wax burning, which give the scent without the flame or fire. So those are my tips to keep everyone safe. Remember, daylight savings time, when you fall back, when you go forward with your clocks, always just automatically change out your batteries so that you don't have to have those annoying chirping alarms interfering with your Zoom calls or your many web meetings that continue to happen. Because you never know when you might have someone like me on the other end that it is driving me absolutely insane because of my personal tendencies. But thank you for taking the time to listen today. And I hope you learned something about fire safety, because fire safety equals less claims, and it's all about insurance. If you have any insurance needs, please contact us at the Janet Smart Agency, 870-793-5757. Janet Smart Agency, the smart choice for insurance.